Yo, what's up, everybody? We are back with a Sunday morning stream. We took a little extra time to get started today because we were tweaking some things, trying to, boost the stream a little bit. We've got a new goal tracker here that if we hit that goal, we're gonna get our custom hyperlink backslash going into next year. That's something we'd be really pumped about. So be sure to hit that sub button to get notifications and catch us anytime we go live. But also help support the channel. If you're not into that sort of thing, definitely hang out with us and get involved in the chat a little bit anyway. We definitely appreciate that. But we've got some updates. Some of them are last minute. Some of them have been murky all week. I think it's getting to the point where it's kind of pissing everybody off.
Yeah, well, you and I particularly are getting kind of screwed this week, so.
Dude, when it rains, it pours, and I'm catching a lot of this.
Yeah, you are.
We've got, I don't know, I mean, probably just to get it out of the way, we've got a quarterback issue here with Dak Prescott. I don't know, man, like he's on that fringe of underperforming for me anyway, but I'm still planning on riding it out. Now all of a sudden he pops up on the injury report. I saw one report that comes out and says Cooper Rush is going to be the guy this week. Then like 30 minutes later, they backtrack and say, well, technically Dak's a game time decision. We don't know yet.
Right.
What are we doing with that?
I mean, if you have, what time is that game? I guess that would be a good question.
I can double check. I think it's a 4:00 game.
Is it a 4 o'clock? I'm pulling up the schedule right now. Oh, where are the Cowboys? 8:20. That's the Sunday night game. Yeah, it's tough. And then the other, they're playing the Vikings, so it's not like Kirk Cousins is likely not available. If you were wanting to play one of those games where you have Dak and then you just slide him in for somebody else. You have the Monday night game where you've got Daniel Jones might be available in your league, where if you wanted to pick somebody like that up and wait. But more than probably what I would be doing is just preparing as if he's not going to play, because it really doesn't seem like he's going to. And just, whatever's best available quarterback that's available in somebody's league, just to pick him up and play is probably what you have to do at this point, because he traveled with the team, but there was a report that said that it would surprise many close to the situation that he would play. Most of the reports all week have been negative that he's going to play. It was just this last one that Adam Schefter reported this morning that said Dak Prescott was still up in the air for week 8. That's been like the most positive thing that's came out so far, which that's still not like that's something that makes you feel good. It just seems like he's not going to play. Cooper Rush is going to be active. That obviously that's going to affect that entire offense to some extent, but the Vikings defense is not. I mean, you're still going to play most of those guys, but yeah, if you've got Dak, I'm just making other plans.
Yeah, you definitely looking for a replacement, even if it's an insurance plan. The fact that they play so late makes it really hard to wait and see. I don't think there's going to be much news until game time, so. I mean, really, your options would be Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones, because those are the only two quarterbacks that play at that time or later that might even still be available. And obviously Cooper Rush, but I'm not doing that. So
no.
I mean, there's some options there. I don't mind Cousins. I don't trust Daniel Jones, but I know some people do. So I imagine there's some people out there that might consider him an option. But as far as Dallas's targets go, I think you keep them. I mean, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb have that ability to perform even with other quarterbacks. We've seen it already. So, yeah, I'm not moving those guys too much. I agree. I think you're playing them, but I do think Zeke probably gets a little extra work without Dak. I think everyone else stays about the same. I mean, they might obviously they're going to take a little step back, but right. I don't think you can like panic on Cooper or Lamb.
Zeke may get a little extra work, like maybe, but the thing too though is I would expect the offense to be a little less productive at the same time, so it's not necessarily a positive thing. But like if you were already playing Amari, I'm still going to play him. If you're playing CeeDee Lamb, I'm still going to play him. Zeke, you're definitely not sitting him, obviously. Like he's an automatic start no matter what. I don't want to play Cooper Rush though. I would rather play Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins if they were around.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Kirk Cousins has been sneaky good for being a free agent quarterback. Basically, I think he's been a streamer for people.
He has. That's why I wouldn't expect him to be available probably in most people's leagues because he has been. It's a tougher matchup. Cowboys have been pretty good on defense this year. But I still would play him. The Daniel Jones has got that really nice matchup with Kansas City. They might be the worst defense in all of the NFL. So Daniel Jones might actually not be that bad of a start this week.
Yeah, if there's a week you're starting Daniel Jones, it might be this week.
Yeah, yeah. If you're playing Kansas City, right on. Everybody's starting.
All right, we've got. It's true though. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get carried away because I'm obviously going to be focused on the 3 studs that I have that are out this week. Do you want to just take turns on this, or?
Nah, I mean, go ahead.
All right. So next up on my roster, Austin Eckler. He's got a hip injury, but he's been on the injury report with that hip for 2 weeks now. This would be week 3, I think, and he's played through it and he's played relatively well. So I don't like that it's being called a hip, but I'm not panicking because he's been there, done that kind of thing. I'm a little more concerned this week than I have been the last couple of weeks because he seemed to fall off the injury report and then it resurfaced, and I don't like that. I think that maybe he tweaked something. Maybe it's worse than it even was before. So there's a chance there, but we don't have any information to really change our minds. So I'm rolling with Austin Eckler. I'm feeling relatively good about it unless there's something that hasn't been shared yet. So I don't know. We're going with it. I don't like that he popped up and it seemed like he was good and now he's not. But yeah, Austin Eckler, we're riding it out. I'm not in love with the matchup either, but New England, I don't know. They just seem to show up sometimes and sometimes they don't. But we're rolling with it.
Yeah, I think you do. It seems like he's going to play. Apparently what had happened was after Wednesday's practice, Brandon Staley said that Eckler had mentioned that he just felt sore. He just felt a little sore. And I think because he's been dealing with that hip, this was just mostly precaution. That's how I'm reading into it anyway. They were just like, look, let's just sit him out a couple of days, make sure he's going to be good to go for the game, and give him some rest. So I think he's going to play. Austin Eckler himself claims, he said on ESPN that he's going to be active for the games. Players typically are the most optimistic people about their own injuries. But I think if he goes on ESPN and says he's going to play, I think the guy's going to play. So I think you're fine to play him. And the problem, the only issue here, if the very small chance he doesn't, is there's really not a clear option for his backup. Is it going to be Larry Roundtree? Is it going to be Joshua Kelly? Is it going to be Justin Jackson? All 3 of these guys at different times this season have came in and played. So I couldn't even recommend which guy to have as a handcuff for this game. That's the biggest drawback of all here.
Well, they went through about as many running backs as the Niners did last year, and the nice thing about it is that you're able to develop some opinions on these guys that might not have had an opportunity otherwise. But then the bad thing about it this year is trying to sort through all of it, because each one of those guys you mentioned had been relevant last year at some point, and now it's well, where are we at with all this now that everyone's available?
Right.
Josh Kelly, Justin Jackson, those guys for 2-3 week stretches were big.
They were. I know that Larry Roundtree was not even active this past week, so assuming that he's not going to be active this week, which that game's at 4:00. Assuming he's not, I don't think he's active this week, and to me that just tells you Eckler's going to play. But and then it does also at least help you narrow down between Justin Jackson, Joshua Kelly. But good luck picking which one that's going to be. More than likely they both will see the field, and who's gonna which one of those 2 has a potential chance to score a touchdown, and that's what you're going to have because neither one of them are probably going to be putting up the numbers, on the stat sheet as far as catches, yards that you're going to be happy with. So, but I think all of that none of it matters. I'm pretty sure Eckler's going to be good to go this week. So,
I kind of forgot. I opened last week with the bye weeks. We do have 2 bye weeks. I don't think they're big hits, but there are some pretty big players involved. We got the Raiders and the Ravens on bye. Maybe we touched on that last stream, actually. But we're missing a few nice pieces, like Waller and Hollywood are probably the biggest ones. And then you got Mark Andrews and Henry Ruggs are probably secondary pieces that is a bummer to miss. But overall, I think this is a manageable bye week. So
it is. It's way better than, what was that, week 6?
Yeah.
Oof. That was a rough one.
The worst. I think that is the worst.
It was.
Okay. Well, next up, if we're just going down my roster, is Calvin Ridley. Okay? The dude's got
Jeez,
some
dude.
personal matters again. I don't know what's going on. If I had to assume, I think he's got something that he doesn't want anyone to know about, that he is very uncomfortable discussing. I don't know if it's like a family loss or it's like a personal development matter that maybe he's taking the next step in I don't know, becoming an adult. There's something going on there. Maybe someone found some dirt on him and he like is trying to navigate all of this. I'm pissed. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired of not having Listen, this bum has been getting 8 targets a week, turning it into 45, 50 yards every week. Now all of a sudden, Kyle Pitts is outperforming him while he's on the field, and he's out for his second week in 3 games because because of a personal matter that they're not even telling us about. That's my mini rant. The problem I have with it is that they're not telling us what the problem is, so we have no idea how long it's going to go on. It keeps coming up last minute. We don't have any way of managing it. But Calvin Ridley's out again. So adjust accordingly. Go pick up
Yeah.
Russell Gage. He wants to play.
Honestly, not a bad idea to do that because he's been more involved the last couple of weeks. I think he's even scored a touchdown this past week. And without Calvin Ridley, like, yeah, he's got to be involved. It's gonna be him, Cordell Patterson, and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is probably in line for another really good game this week. Um, we got a question real quick though before we get back to that. Clamp says Gesicki or Dallas Goedert, and then Cordell Patterson or Darrell Henderson. Ooh. I'll say real quick about the Cordell Patterson and Darrell Henderson thing. Who are you playing in your flex this week? Because if I can, I'd want to play both those guys. So unless you've got like a really strong flex position already that you know you're going to lock in, I would prefer to play both those guys.
And they both have pretty
Um,
good matchups, especially without Ridley there. There's a few extra targets that might work their way to Patterson. They're playing Carolina, and I've really liked Carolina's defense so far, but then they got didn't they just get rolled over last week?
yeah,
And then you've got the Rams at Houston. I mean, those are really nice running back matchups.
yeah. And then I'll say about Gesicki and Dallas Goddard. Goddard has the better matchup this week against Detroit. Gesicki's going against Buffalo, which is, going against Buffalo is kind of scary because how good that defense has been, and Miami's offense has been not so great. But the lucky thing or the good thing
Nice.
there is Miami's defense has been so bad that and then against Buffalo, like if you want to assume game flow, this is probably one we can feel pretty safe to assume Buffalo's going to put up a lot of points this week, and Miami's going to have to throw the shit out of the ball. Gesicki's been so involved and has been so good that I just don't know how I sit him. I like Dallas Goedert a lot. I'm playing him this week, but his volume has been much lower than Gesicki's. And Jalen Hurts, no matter who he's playing, Jalen Hurts still sucks when he throws the ball. um, I think Goddard has potential to have score a touchdown this week, but I'm just going to go ahead and still play Gesicki. I just think he's a safer play.
I like it. Detroit. So Philly's in Detroit, and Detroit has been most vulnerable to the passing game. I think they've been actually I think they've been decent against the run, but it kind of Philly's offense plays into Detroit's defense. So we'll see what happens. Plus, Miles Sanders is out. Didn't he just hit IR? So I mean, we're gonna get an extended look at Kenneth Gainwell. Um, but they haven't really
Maybe.
been too eager to use either one of them. So yeah, it's just a bad matchup for Philly's offense. Even though it sounds weird because Detroit's been so rough, but
Right.
Philly Philly avoids passing the ball. Detroit can't stop the pass, and now you've got this perfect storm happening. I agree. Gasicki. I like that you've got Taylor and Swift as your RB1 and 2. So
and
your
our and
flex
then
is a
my
convenience there.
yeah. And then my last thing would be about Patterson and Henderson. If it's a full PPR league, or honestly, if it's probably even half point, but definitely if you're in full PPR, man, I'm a big fan of Darrell Henderson. They both have really nice matchups this week, but I'll probably would play Patterson if it's a PPR format league, just because I know he's going to be involved in catching the ball, and the fact that we've got Calvin Ridley out, that was like a last minute thing there. With Calvin Ridley out, I just feel like that means Patterson's going to even be a little bit more involved in the passing game.
Well, the nice thing about the Falcons too is they've been competitive in almost every game that they've played this year. So like even if I mean they've been better than expected for sure, but they've also their losses have been close. I don't know, but I think there might be a chance if this Rams game gets out of hand in Houston that maybe Sony Michel gets a few extra carries towards the end of the game. I mean, it might just get out of hand.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that could happen for sure. Patterson, is going to be in that game all game. Lamar Jackson is out, and right, because of the bye. My only choices are Wentz, Tannehill, Mac Jones, or Mayfield.
I personally had to make that decision this week because of
Did you?
the Dak news. So that list is
Oh,
very similar to the options I was considering, and I rolled with Wentz. I
did you?
think Wentz's upside goes up quite a bit if Hilton's playing, but I also liked the matchup against Tennessee where their DBs have been vulnerable, but also Tennessee's in a position to score points. So Tennessee offers, from a fantasy standpoint, they offer game script and vulnerability, and I just liked the idea of having Wentz out there to take advantage of both. But it was close. I mean, Tannehill looked better recently, but he's been a little more up and down, and I just kind of went for something that I felt a little better about the consistency with some potential upside, with T.Y. Hilton being
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, it is between those two for me. Mac Jones and Mayfield, I'm not going to consider this week. And they are close. I don't mind going with Wentz. The weird thing about that is like we just don't know what Tennessee is, I don't think, yet. Are they really good? Like are they just a really good team because of what they've done the last 2 weeks against Buffalo and the Chiefs? Or was that just some sort of weird happenstance for whatever reason? And then they go back to shit. Like I don't know. I mentioned that because of their defense. Like is like on paper, because of the way, if you look at the numbers for the entire year, the Tennessee matchup looks really nice. But I just don't actually know if that's true or not. So that's like my only hesitation with Carson. I do agree, though. I mean, T.Y. Hilton is active. That does make me feel even a little bit better about Carson this week. That team's been just playing much better as a whole. I probably play Carson too.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
works, Dallas.
my
I'm
concern,
actually playing Carson this week too in a deeper league.
I've caught the last couple Tennessee games, and I do agree they've looked better. I think the key piece for them, which could work against Carson Wentz, is Bud Dupree's been creating a lot of pressure in the backfield. He's been a really good pass rusher for them, and that has had Wentz kind of running for his life already a couple times this year. So we're
Yeah.
hoping that doesn't happen. They've had some turnovers, but they've been a result of the pressure that's being applied. Primarily, I've been noticing by Bud Dupree. So definitely something that I respect Tennessee's defense a little more for. I don't know that those DBs are playing better as much as I think it's more an indirect relationship to how the quarterback's feeling and the amount of time that they've been having to throw. It's working for
Yeah.
them from a football standpoint. But I don't. I still think those DBs are vulnerable.
Sure. I think I lean that way too. It's just, my ears are perked up after what happened
Yeah,
this last week.
they went out there and they beat a couple really good teams.
Mm-hmm. It did. Tennessee kind of does that too, though, man. They did this last year too. Like it's almost like the level of their opponent. It's like they need somebody like a Buffalo or a Kansas City to really show up sometimes. It's really strange because they'll lose it to a bad team. They'll look bad against a bad team. And then they play some of these other teams and they come out swinging. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's really strange.
Indy's been sneaky good too. They lost that bummer. It was a big comeback for the Ravens too. But at the
Yeah.
time that they played each other, the Ravens, I don't think people were looking at as like this is a legit team. They had to actually win a few in a row to get to that point. And at the time that they played each other, like that game could have just as easily went to Indy, and we'd feel differently about them.
Right.
They've still got some moving pieces though. I mean, Hilton I think is going to provide some consistency. I actually think Indy's a much better team than they've been so far, but Wentz still needs to settle in some. And I'm hoping that happens
Well, Wentz
this
was
week.
playing
I think
on
we're all hoping that happens this week.
all of us. We're all in this together because we're all playing Wentz in a league.
Yep.
I mean, Wentz had bum ankles that he was playing on. He had literally 2 bum ankles that he was playing on for a couple of games there. Like he was banged up. As of 2 weeks ago, he was fully healthy, listed as fully healthy anyway. So, like, I think you've seen that in his play, and that's what gives me the most hope.
Yeah.
So, Plus Jonathan Taylor running his ass off, like that's helped that whole team too.
And getting some catches. He had that a couple weeks
Mhm.
ago. That was a catch, that 72-yarder.
Yeah.
Phew.
Yeah.
That's points for wins, too. Don't forget about that.
It is. Let's get another one of those, boys. Let's get one of those other screens to the house.
Yeah, Chia, listen, we need one big dump off to Jonathan Taylor. We got Mo Alley Cox out there to pick up the rest of it. All right, Michael Pittman's outside. He's going to get us the yards. Mo Alley Cox is going to take it home. We're golden. I think Wentz is going for 3 touchdowns. If you have an over on a 2.5 this week, no, I'm just kidding.
Shit. He's definitely a 1.5 under over.
Dude, if he's a 1.5, honestly,
I'm sure
I'm probably
is.
putting $5 on that.
I'm sure he is. All right, you want to move on to the next thing that we're gonna mention, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna look at it real quick.
Okay. So the next thing we're gonna mention, well, actually, so those were my players. And I know you had some
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Well, Kadarius Tony, I know, is one of them. So Carson Wentz under over 1.5 minus 115 for touchdown passes.
That's
Tannehill himself is 1.5 for a minus 105.
He runs it in though, and Henry gets a lot of touchdowns too.
Right.
I would feel better about the Wentz 1.5, especially
Sure.
without Julio.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Right
So
back.
Kadarius, okay, Kadarius Tony. I didn't realize that he was on this many people's radar, but he was number 4 trending this week or today in the last 24 hours. These players on NBC Sports Edge. So he's traveling with the team. You know, that game is a Monday night. So like, I can't imagine people need to have this try to figure this situation out because nobody's relying on him to start him. But I will say that it is a massive upside play going against Kansas City in that defense. Like we mentioned it earlier, just how terrible they are. They haven't been able to stop anyone this year. So that would be like the biggest motivation for me to want to consider playing him. I would only consider doing it if Darius Slayton is available to pick up in people's leagues, which he's less than 10% owned on ESPN leagues. I would pick him up and you have him as my backup plan if Kadarius Tony wasn't activated. That's the only way I would consider waiting to do that. Even then, if you play Tony, hoping for like some big upside if you really need it. We just saw him like 2 weeks ago with that ankle. He couldn't even finish the first series and he came off the field. So like you're playing with fire there. I'm not going to risk it. And I don't think people should. But if you did want to, try to pick up Darius Slayton, have that as a backup plan.
I like it. Darius Slayton hasn't played much in a while, so like it might feel a little bit weird, but I mean, he was somebody we were interested in until he missed time.
Yeah. Well, he played last week when a lot of those other guys were out, and including Kadarius Tony, and he had 9 targets. I think he had like 6 catches. With given the matchup and given that Kenny Galladay's out, and if Kadarius Tony was out, it would be him, and it seems like Sterling Shepard's gonna play, even though that is also up in the air. That would be just because of his involvement last week and the lack of those other guys being active. Like I wouldn't mind throwing him in as a desperation play, Slayton.
Yeah. Well, that's wide receiver 1 volume.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You just never know what you're going to get. You just never know what you're going to get with that team. It's very, very random. But that's all I was going to say about that. The other one is another wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, activated, bro. Jerry Judy's going to play.
He is.
So, I think, what do you think about that? I mean, you've got another wide receiver on the other side of the field for that team. I think you're still playing him, right? There's no way you're sitting that guy. He's still a really good player himself.
No. So the weird thing about owning Sutton so far is that he gets fed, and then he it's very inconsistent where like he'll get a massive amount of targets. I'm talking like 12 and 13 target games. It's happened 3 times this year. And then the other games he'll go like 3 or 4 targets. I don't think that Jerry Jeudy coming in is going to change that. I think Jerry Jeudy demands volume because he gets open. Like his route running is very good. He's very quick, and there will be some targets going to him no matter what. The player that he might be most competing with for targets or taking targets away from, I would expect to be Noah Fant. I would say Tim Patrick, but he just came off a slower week last week even, so that's already kind of started. or that already happened with him. But
Mhm.
I am less interested in Tim Patrick. I think that they would want Sutton, Fant, and Judy to be more involved anyway. I think that Tim Patrick just becomes more of like a 2 to 3 target touchdown dependent kind of guy, which is a bummer because he's been pretty consistent for them, and I think he might deserve a little more. But they just have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, I can't play him. Can't play Tim Patrick this week because of Jerry Judy. It just seems like Judy will demand so many targets, and then obviously Sutton will too. And I don't think Fant's going to go away. Tim Patrick feels like he's the third or fourth option at this point, and even without Judy, most weeks he was already working on low volume. So hopefully that was just some guy people were enjoying having, being able to throw him in the flex week, a week here or there when they need it, or for an injury reason, and you're not relying on him because that he could go back to completely irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely possible. Jerry Judy we know has the drops, but part of Jerry Judy's drop rate, I say rate on purpose. I think I'm coming into it from the wrong angle though. Jerry Judy's drops, the drop volume was alarming and it stood out to us, but Jerry Judy's drop rate wasn't that crazy because he was getting a lot of volume or he was getting a lot of targets. So like if you just look at the numbers and you're saying, well, this guy had X amount of drops, and then you look at the amount of targets he was receiving, the rates are actually acceptable. It wasn't like he was just out there missing everything. It was more like, hey, this guy over here has half the targets and he has a similar amount of drops, but because Judy's value, they were counting it as a quantifiable and not a qualifiable stat. So
Sure.
I'm not as concerned with that. I think he's getting open at enough of a rate. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if somebody has him that is like not sure what to think, they've been eating him, eating that injury this whole time. They're probably more inclined to keep him now that he's active. It's kind of hard to get somebody after somebody has stashed him this entire amount of time. But if there's a chance that he's available or that the owner doesn't feel great about it, I mean, some of these guys just throw somebody on the IR because that slot's available to them, right?
Right.
I think Jerry Judy might be someone that you might want to try to go get. I'm not going to offer a ton for it, but I think that if he hasn't, because he hasn't played, and there was some negative buzz about him when he was playing, he could be somebody you could acquire, and there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah. I tried to get Jerry Judy 2 weeks ago. If you can trade for him, I mean, I think he's somebody you can still consider trying to get, especially if he comes off this first week too and he plays a little slow. And I wouldn't take that as a negative or like that's a sign of things to come in the future. I would just look at it as a really nice buy low. And that first week before he left that game looked really sharp. Jerry Judy looked real good. And Denver's also not a team that's in a position, like if Jerry Judy goes out there and drops a pass or two, Denver's not a team that's in a position to go away from him after that because they've really been struggling the past few weeks on offense. They need somebody who can make plays for him. That dude could go out there and drop 3 passes today, and I still think he's going to stay heavily involved in that offense. Chuba Hubbard or Emmanuel Sanders. I would play Emmanuel Sanders. I just think he's going to stay involved in that offense. I don't think Emmanuel Sanders is going away in Buffalo. I think what we've seen so far this year is going to remain. I want to be tied to that offense. I think Sanders is still a good player, even at 34. I really like being tied to Josh Allen. Miami's defense has been terrible, and Buffalo doesn't care if the team they're playing against isn't scoring. Buffalo continues to throw the ball. They're fine hanging 40 on somebody no matter what the other team's doing. Chuba Hubbard's been disappointing like this past week. We thought he was a good play, and he didn't do very much at all. And it's just, I think it's a product of Carolina's offense as a whole just really struggling right now. Sam Darnold's been pretty terrible. He could turn it around this week against Atlanta. Atlanta's a nice matchup. They've played a little bit better on defense these past couple weeks. So just because of that, and Carolina's really struggling offense, the fact that Sam Darnold even got benched during the game last week,
Yeah.
I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in wanting to buy into that this week. And because you have a nice option, Sanders, that's where I'm going to go.
Carolina feels like they're reeling right now with that benching.
Yeah, it does.
It's not good. Atlanta is better than their record indicates. Atlanta's better than they're getting credit for, and they're at home. I mean, let's be honest. Like they've had a rough stretch, but Atlanta can be good at home against anybody. I think things get weird in that Georgia Dome once in a while. And if if Atlanta's competitive, if Atlanta has a 10-point lead, Carolina's less inclined to feed Chuba Hubbard. I think they want to be in a place where they feel comfortable, with the running game. I think they're a team that gets away from it a little earlier than they probably should,
Yeah.
and Atlanta can create that scenario. So I agree. I like Emmanuel Sanders. I think he's the biggest reason why Stephon Diggs has been a little disappointing this year. I think Emmanuel Sanders has been very good for them and very consistent.
Yeah. I'm gonna play Keenan Allen as well over Hubbard. I can understand to an extent some of the Keenan Allen hesitation. I mean, really for me, the biggest thing is just the fact that they're playing New England this week, and we know that Bill Belichick is the ultimate schemer when it comes to a team's top wideouts. But don't be surprised if the Patriots tend to focus more on Mike Williams this week. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And I mean, Justin Herbert is just such a good quarterback. He's so good. And New England at times this year in different games, no matter how smart their coach is on scheming on defense, that secondary at times has got lit up. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna play Keenan as well over Hubbard. I mean, if I'm playing Sanders over Hubbard, then I'm playing Keenan over Hubbard.
Yeah, Atlanta
Um,
with Patterson, I like he's the reason he's as valuable as he is because of the passing volume too. But like Patterson's the running back for Atlanta, and he is in a very versatile, very matchup-proof role on that offense. And not to say that he's not going to have a dud or two the rest of the year, because it could happen. But he's in that ideal scenario where, like, when you can run it, they're comfortable using him for that. When they need to throw it, they're still using him a lot for that. Like, he is in the perfect situation for like that team where like I'm gonna run him out there most weeks unless I just have some really nice matchups out there that I want to take advantage of.
yep, Patterson is a must start week in week out until we see otherwise. If Mike Davis starts getting more involved, don't see that happening. But if that was to happen, or if Patterson's production for whatever reason, if things just started to go downhill for him, but until we see something like that change, Patterson is a must start week in week out.
Yeah, I
He's
do
like
want to.
he's like a top 5 running back or some dumb shit like that this year. Like
He really
can't
is.
can't sit that guy.
No, and it's a team that has to. They have to. He's the beneficiary of the circumstance, right? So this is a team that has to score points to keep up. But they're competing still, and he's a big reason why. Like, man, it's
Yeah.
almost like Atlanta goes as he goes because all the other guys have sprinkled in and out, but like Patterson's been every week.
Yeah. If Dak is in, should you play him over Hurts? If he's in, if you knew that he was in for sure, yeah, I would play him over Hurts. I mean, look, Hurts for fantasy point reasons, he's been rock solid. If you watch the Eagles games, I mean, you would sit there wondering like, how is that guy still out there on the field playing and not sitting on the bench? Because he sucks. He sucks so bad. But he rushes the ball. He scores touchdowns on the ground sometimes. Like, he's just been able to do enough for fantasy. He's one of those quarterbacks where fantasy and real life do not align. But if the thing is, though, is you're not going to get to really know that. Like, that Detroit game, what time is that game? That's early,
Detroit
right?
always plays that one, bro.
Right. So Detroit's a 1 o'clock game. Dak's not till Sunday night. Like, you got to make that decision before you know if Dak's actually going to play. And because of that, and we don't know, it seems like Dak is more likely not to play than that he is. So unless you can pick up a Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones as a backup plan for those late games, like, you're just gonna have to play Hurts this week.
Well, the real part of it is, and the reason that Josh like elaborated on all that is because the question was if Dak is in. So like in that situation, I'm running Hurts out there because I think fantasy wise, I agree that Hurts has been productive fantasy wise. So you take the shirt thing. The production's actually been comparable, and I hate saying that because I own Dak and I like Dak, but Jalen Hurts has been giving you enough that if I'm you, I'm taking the sure thing. I'm starting Hurts. There is a decent matchup against Detroit, and I'm done thinking about it. If you want to give Dak a chance, like I know you heard Josh say it. You need Cousins or you need Jones, but like picture what that actually looks like. That looks like you cutting Jalen Hurts, who is a startable fantasy quarterback, because you want to give yourself an extra chance for Dak to play, and then taking Cousins or Jones, who, if you don't have rostered already, I'm assuming you don't feel as good about as Hurts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm starting Hurts and I'm done. Like, I don't want to spend any more time on it because he's been good enough. And that's just it. It's really risky if you get into all the roster changes and then maybe Dak doesn't play, and then you're starting Cousins against Dallas when you could have had Hurts in your lineup against Detroit. So I'm going Hurts, and it gets really murky if you are trying to force the Dak thing, and I don't think it sounds likely that he will play. I wish he was playing too, though, man. I really do. I have him. Like, I have high expectations for him. I love that offense, but it's a bummer. But I think you go Hurts this week.
Yeah. I think you do too. I think you have to because of the Dak situation. Start 2 in full PPR. Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Damian Harris. Mike Evans for Mike right now. Mike Evans for me is an automatic start. He's been on fire. He's scoring a lot of touchdowns, and AB's out again. So like without AB, you're eliminating one of those wide receivers from the equation. I will say the one wrench that maybe gets thrown in that is Gronk. Gronk might be back and playing again this week. And there's been a correlation there as well with Gronk being out and Evans' touchdowns going up because Gronk, if you guys remember before he got hurt, Gronk was scoring a lot of touchdowns in the red zone, like, short yardage, 5 yards and in type of thing. They were throwing to him, and that's what Evans has been doing lately. So not for sure how that's going to look with those two back out on the field together, but I can't sit Evans this week. Got to play him. The Terry McLaurin and Damian Harris one gets more interesting because it's PPR. Like, Damian Harris is obviously a pretty safe play, but I could see a world. Like, we're bad at predicting how game flows will go, but let's say, hypothetical situation, the Chargers get up on the Patriots, and Damian Harris is then not part of the game plan because he's not at all involved when New England's down like that. So you need him to get in the end zone this week. And that can definitely happen. Chargers have not been great against stopping the run. But I think in PPR leagues, I'm going to look for the bigger upside, which to me is Terry over Damian Harris.
See, for me, it's interesting because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, is it Damian Harris over Mike Evans?
Really?
Mike Evans has been very good, but I think we both would have agreed coming in that Mike Evans can be a here and there kind of a player. And he's got Marshawn Lattimore, who traditionally has been very good against Mike Evans.
That's true.
But here's the thing.
Lattimore has been,
Evans has been so good that I'm personally, I hate being in this position, but I'm personally looking at it and going, I think I have to start Mike Evans, but I also just have this gut feeling that he could go for like 5 points this week, and that's what I got. So, sometimes you got to ride the talent because it pays off, and there's a little bit of there's something to be said about the volume. The rhythm, and you got to ride the hot hand. We've said that a few times. So I get that. I think I'm still going Evans and McLaurin, but I am interested in starting Harris over Evans potentially. It's just one of those where it's like Evans has been hot, and that could offset the Lattimore matchup. So it's a tough one. It really is. But I'm just saying, I guess, had your expectations with Evans because Lattimore gives him a hard time. It's almost like he lives for this matchup every year.
Yeah, and Lattimore's such a great player, and he has, for the most part, he has had Mike Evans' number. So that is a good point to bring up. I'm the guy that still plays those dudes regardless of matchup. But trust me, I've lived through plenty of weeks where guys like that get shut down because of the corner they're facing. I'm gonna play Evans and Terry though. So cheers to Damian Harris getting an 80-yard rush for a touchdown
in the first quarter.
Yep. Text chat says, y'all are the best. I got Zeke, so even if Dak is out, I'm chilling. All right, cool. There you go, man. Zeke's been real good this year. He's had a nice bounce back after a rough start. Going back on the trades, the guy was overpricing his RBs, so I did. Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that.
It doesn't feel good, but it's less appealing. You want to get the trades it's exciting to do, but that was the move. Because you're right, they were overvaluing the running back. So just sitting tight instead of forcing a trade that wasn't really there, that you weren't getting value on. It's the right move. It doesn't feel good, but you did the right thing.
Yeah. DJ Moore, Gainwell, Waddle, Javonte, Darrell Williams. Start one in PPR.
DJ Moore, right?
The ones that I can eliminate would be Gainwell, and probably Javonte. And then so I'm looking at DJ Moore, Waddle, and Darrell Williams. And I think that in PPR, I think DJ Moore and Waddle are pretty comparable. I'm just really nervous about Buffalo. I'm really nervous about Buffalo's defense this week with Miami, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. Waddle's going to be really involved again this week. They're going to attempt to get him really involved. If Buffalo decides to try to shut Waddle down, then I think they're going to be able to do that. Devonte Parker is out again this week. So, like, what has Miami been doing when Devonte Parker has been out? It's been Gesicki, like, basically just lines up as a wide receiver. He's really not playing as a tight end. That's why he's been so involved in the pass game. So it's going to be Gesicki and it's going to be Waddle. Like, those are the two that Miami needs to get involved. DJ Moore is my favorite player of all those guys. And I think he still is relatively safe play with a lot of upside. But Sam Darnold has been playing like shit the last few weeks. I'm still going to play DJ Moore. That's where I'm at with it. Darrell Williams is a nice safe play because he's tied to that offense and he's got a good chance to score a touchdown and yada, yada, yada. So for me, it's DJ Moore, Darrell Williams, and I'll play DJ. Who do you like in that group though, Dub? Because those are few good options there.
I like DJ Moore. I like Moore and Waddle the most out of that group too. The thing is we're excited about the extra opportunity that Gainwell could get, but Philly was using a guy they liked more, less, right? So that's where I don't know what's going on in Philly, and until there's a coaching change or something happens, I don't feel good about any of that. Basically, what you're doing is you're hoping that Gainwell has a beast of a game this week, and you package him for anything you can get. And you just move on with your life because that Philly backfield's been a headache, and it's just not something you want to be tied to or trying to manage the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, Justin, but Jordan Howard, he was getting reps with the ones in practice with the Eagles this week, and he's activated for this game. And to what Dub was bringing up, like Boston Scott last week when Miles Sanders got hurt, Boston Scott came in and played quite a bit. And between the tackles as a runner, I think might be better than Gainwell is. Gainwell is just the guy that he's not bad. He's not bad running the ball, but he's been more involved throughout the season in passing situations. So we don't know how much Jordan Howard's going to be involved. We don't know how much Boston Scott's going to get run. Don't be surprised if Boston Scott ends up getting more touches than Gainwell this week. That's why we're just trying to avoid that situation. That's a wait and see. Gainwell might end up being the dude, but we want to wait and see on that.
And Gainwell is the player that we like the most out of that. It's just more about the cluster F that is the coaching staff and their decisions. So
right.
It's we like Gainwell. What are they doing with all these other guys, and why is that affecting my guy?
Right.
Yeah. Ra, I see your post here too. I'm going with T.Y. Hilton out of that group. Mark Ingram back to the Saints is interesting to me, but that's a wait and see. I mean, it's been a few years since he's been there. I expect it to go close to where it was when he was there before. I think he's going to get some run. I think it could help both of their efficiencies, but I also want to see it because he's a little bit removed from that. And T.Y. Hilton, first game back after being off for a while, looked pretty good. So I mean, I know he had a little bit of a tweak, and we weren't sure about his status. I think he's good. I'm rolling with T.Y. Hilton because we're all rolling with Carson Wentz this week too.
True. I think I would go T.Y. as well. You can make a case for, KJ Osborne. That's a tough play because there's been some weeks he's made a play or two and it's made his fantasy day, and then he's had a lot of weeks where he's disappeared. So I can't play him with any confidence. Brandon Bolden, he's going to require getting a lot of production done on very limited work because that's been the case for him. The way he gets involved in this game is if the Chargers get up big and then Brandon Bolden's out there on the field a lot. That's what you would need. Mark Ingram is definitely a wait and see. You can't play him this week. It's kind of just by default, I'm going to play T.Y. Hilton out of that group.
But I'm happy to do so. If I have a need or that's an area,
right?
I'm happy to have him in my lineup. I think he's productive.
Sure. There you go.
I'm starting. In case you guys were interested, maybe you're not. Maybe you could care less. But let me just give you a quick breakdown on the guys that are on my bench versus the guys I'm starting. Okay? Because we touched on how injuries are affecting me right now. My bench is Cal Ridley, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Dak Prescott, Henry Ruggs. Those are all starters. Those are all fantasy starting guys. So now I'm rolling with Carson Wentz, I got OBJ as a starting receiver. I'm not really too thrilled about that this week. I got Michael
Mhm.
Carter as my flex. All right, that's what we're doing this week. That's how we're looking.
Jeez.
I
Tough week.
like those players. I haven't liked what they've been doing so much lately. Michael Carter's been actually sneaky consistent around 10, 12 points, so I could do worse with my flex, but I was hoping for a little more upside with the other guys I'm rolling out there. So, in case anyone was curious, kind of getting
It's sad to
shafted.
say, but it's sad to say, but OBJ is the scariest one. I mean,
Yeah.
going against Pitt and like Jarvis Landry's back out on the field now. Yeah, I hear you, but you got to do it.
Yep.
Sterling Shepard or Jerry Judy in half PPR? Well, I will say that the concern with Sterling Shepard is we don't know yet. We still don't know yet if he's going to play, and that game is tomorrow. So I feel like you're kind of handcuffed regardless into playing Jerry Judy if those are the only like two options you have that you feel pretty good about. And then because of that, I'm going to play Jerry Judy.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jerry Judy doesn't have the feel that they rushed him back. I think they kind of accepted it is what it is. They want to have him be right. And so, I mean, I think Jerry Judy could have a nice game.
I think he could too.
Seems like they try to get guys involved too, get them into a fast track, a little bit of a rhythm, maybe like a welcome back kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of like off paper, we're hoping more, I guess. That's not something I know, but I think Jerry Judy could get a little extra attention. I think he could have a nice little game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And Broncos are going against defense has been terrible this year. I don't know what happened with that defense. They were really solid last year. They should have been really good this year. Up to this point, they have not been good at all. Not scared at all of that matchup. And I just can't play Sterling. I just can't wait on Sterling Shepard for tomorrow without knowing if he's even going to be active. Right now I'm 2-5 versus the 6-1 guy. I'm low key scared, but Kyler Murray, he crapped the bed, so I have a chance. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Kyler Murray had a rough week.
I had that in the league too. I was pretty pumped about that. It's definitely a nice little head start, we might call it, right?
Right.
Ra, you're going through it with me, man. We got Ridley, Sanders, and CEH out there. Times are tough. Hopefully you weren't leaning too heavy on Sanders by now, though. I mean, it's been weird. He's a good player, but we try to adjust to those things. I think you try to hold on to him for the upside, but find other plans. And then the CEH thing was kind of salt in the wound. That had to be rough.
And then David Montgomery and AB. That's a tough.
Man,
yeah, you got to roll with the punches right now. You're on the ropes.
Yeah. What do the kids say? Sheesh.
Yeah. That Ridley one, man, strange. So strange.
They need to say what's going on, or I'm cutting them.
Patrick Mahomes
Not
for
literally.
Calvin Ridley straight up.
Dude, I'm in.
I'll think about that. I've been thinking about that for
Think
about
about it. You offered it. You guys heard it. If you offer the trade, that's an implied accept, right? I got Tyreek Hill in a keeper league, so I'll take the tandem. Okay, I'll take the stack.
If I can go get myself a decent quarterback, I'm sending you that.
What do you want?
Well, I just got to make sure I get a decent fill-in quarterback is all I'm saying.
Well, what am I going to do with Dak if I got Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, are you saying you're going to send me Dak then?
I mean, I need something back. Listen,
All
this
right.
Cal Ridley, if you're trying to give me Mahomes for Ridley and that's what we're working around, we'll figure something out.
All right. All right. Well, look, if Dak's coming back and I throw you just a little something to make that feel a little better, we might have ourselves a deal here.
I'm mostly being sarcastic, but like I would not auto decline Ridley for Pitts right now. That's where I'm at. Pitts is outperforming him anyway, and you get the tight end positional value. What are we doing here?
Cameron, you jumped in here in Discord with us. You gonna send him that?
Cam, you want Cal Ridley?
He might not be.
I'm
He might
hearing
not
you
be
right
here.
now.
You want Cal Ridley for for Kyle Pitts?
No.
Huh?
Ooh.
I like Kyle Pitts right now, bro.
You are so week to week. You would have done that you would have been crying tears of joy
done
last
that.
week.
Hey, 3 weeks ago, I'd have done that all day. You right.
Last week you would have. Kyle Pitts had that 100-yard game, and you're like, untouchable. And I get it, because we don't know what Kyle Pitts is yet, all right?
It's a Falcon, bro. It's a Falcon. I'll give you Tyler
So's
Lockett
Cal
for
Ridley.
Cal Ridley right now.
Nah. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's get to some more of these. Just a couple more of these. Nick Chubb is playing. He's off the
Could I
injury
get
report
Jamar
completely.
Chase? Sorry, this isn't about me.
It's all right. We'll do that after the fact.
Okay.
We'll talk about that after. Nick Chubb's off the injury report, so he's good to go back. He's playing. I think you could still play Dearness Johnson because there's Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Obviously, that's been a tandem everybody's aware of. They like to play two running backs. That offense is designed around using two running backs. Dearness Johnson had a really nice week last week when he was the sole guy. So obviously, that's not the case now. Nick Chubb's going to be the dude. But I think Dearness Johnson's probably going to get some looks and some touches. I think he earned that from last week, and I think that offense might just sort of kind of pretend like it's Kareem Hunt out there instead. I still think Dearness Johnson's flex worthy. I'm actually in a deep league where I'm playing both those guys together. Oh boy. But yeah, Nick Chubb's good to go. The Bears or the Steelers defense this week? Well, Khalil Mack is out this week for the Bears. We just got that notification. Let me make sure I'm correct on that, but I believe I am. And while I'm checking,
I mean, I kind of still like Chicago. Khalil Mack's their best player on paper, but like he hasn't had that same impact that he's had. I still think he's their best player, but it just hasn't had that same feel. I don't know.
yeah,
He hasn't
Yeah,
been that
I mean,
wrecking ball.
with Chubb back, I probably go that way too, man. Because the Niners' offense is just they've just been really just not good, right? Like for the most part, they just have not been a very good offense. Garoppolo's not been good for the most part.
Elijah Mitchell had that big game, but like nobody really saw that coming. We don't know what they're doing. He probably gets some more run this week
Right.
because of that. I mean, he's
Yeah.
the guy I would be most interested in out of the backfield, but like, okay, so you have one good game out of the 4 or 5 opportunities you've had. Not impressed
Right.
from a defensive standpoint. And did Chicago, I think Chicago would be best suited to stop the run, right? Wouldn't you be more worried about the passing attack if you're playing Chicago's defense?
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, my thing about it is like, when I have the Bears defense, I worry about the Bears offense. Like I just worry about their inability to be on the field for long stretches, to stay on the field, sustain drives, and just the defense being out there a lot.
True.
And then that makes up for the lack of how efficient the Niners defense or the Niners offense has been. That's my concern with it. But like, I'm not scared of. I'm more scared of playing against the Browns offense than I am the Niners by a long stretch. So
Sure.
because of that, I'll play Chicago.
Well, you get a little bit of a bonus too that San Francisco's traveling to Chicago. I mean, if it was a little later in the year, it'd probably mean more. But
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine it's a lot nicer in San Francisco right now.
sure. So I said Nick Chubb was out. We've already covered like T.Y. Hilton, but he's active, so he's good to go. We mentioned Gronk. Gronk has been limited in practice all week, but he is listed as questionable. But everything that's came out of their camp sounds like he's likely to play this week. So he would be a nice he'd be a nice guy. If he's active, I would play him. Just because of that touchdown upside that you've got.
yeah, you've
Like
got
if you were trying to get by with one of these replacement level guys that's been really hit or miss at the tight end position, then I'm wanting to play Gronk over those dudes. But if you were able to pick up I don't know. I was gonna say a Dalton Schultz, but well yeah. Gallup's actually not activated this week. You got the Dak news. That makes that situation weird. So
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. That would be a case by case basis. I would need to know who the other tight end is, but Gronk's gonna play over a lot of guys for me.
for sure. He was so good when he was playing that's just you just got to go with it.
Yeah.
You've
Yep.
got Jamal Williams out in Detroit, so DeAndre Swift's gonna get the work. That's
Swift's
gonna be interesting.
Swift's
And-
gonna be a great play.
The next guy on the depth chart would have been Jamar Jefferson, who they drafted with like a 6th-round pick or something, but they liked more than what that draft value indicated. But just
Yeah.
last week, it came out that Dan Campbell said healthy scratch. Like you guys, basically there was a list. It was like a Dan Campbell hit list, and he's like, "Listen, these handful of guys aren't playing the way we want them to, or they're not coming with the presence that we want them to bring, preparedness, whatever it was. It was like character or performance or preparedness issues, it was like he blasted some more guys. So like 2 weeks ago, it was like, Goff, you need to get it together, but also our receivers need to be in the right places at the right times. And then last week's was like, the guys that aren't dressing are on my shit list. And it was like Jamar Jefferson was one of them. So like Swift's probably getting it all. I don't think Jefferson's in a position to come up and get some more looks. I think it's all Swift.
I think Swift's gonna crush it this week. Congratulations if you've got him.
Yeah.
He's looked so good this year, like I figured he would, and he's been getting it done as not being the full-time guy. And yeah, he should be able to do that this week.
I need 30 seconds.
Okay.
Take over.
Okay, will do. I'm just looking through. I'm trying to check any last-minute news. Make sure there's not anything that we're missing. We're getting close to game time here. I did just get a notification saying that Kyler Murray has a sprained ankle. I don't know what that's going to mean for that team going forward. Like how many weeks he's going to be out for, if any. I mean, he got that injury happened during the game and he finished that game, but you could tell he was hurt. He was hobbled around, struggling. The big thing about Kyler Murray in his game that's so great is his ability to move around and run. And with a sprained ankle, it's going to be pretty tough. So that's just an unfortunate hit. Which wide receiver should I start today in Standard League? Pittman, Woods, Deontay Johnson? I would probably play Deontay Johnson. He's been the most. You know what the situation is with Robert Woods. He's just been for most of the season. I know he had like that one really nice game, but for most of the season, he's been pretty relatively uninvolved in that offense. Even guys like Van Jefferson are getting looks over Robert Woods. I like Pittman. T.Y. Hilton is active for this game. Not sure what that's going to mean as far as how the looks go. I think there's plenty to go around for both guys to be productive. So I don't think Pittman's a bad play. But Deontay Johnson is like a main focus for that offense, and Big Ben looks for him a lot. And he's also a great player. So I'll play Deontay. What you think, Cameron? If you had Michael Pittman, Robert Woods, Deontay Johnson, who you going with? Oh, he's not here. It's just me.
Oh, no,
I'm
I'm
solo.
here.
Oh, you're here.
What
So Pittman,
receiver should I start? Pittman, Woods, or Deontay Johnson? Listen, those are nice options, and Josh loves Deontay Johnson. I love Pittman. I think you're starting to like Pittman too. And Woods had the consistency issues. I think he's been more involved, but I think we're putting him at maybe an 8-point per game territory. It was like nothing to start the year, and then he blew up, and now we're somewhere. I guess what I'm saying is I'm still processing Robert Woods.
Yeah.
We have Pittman plus Hilton, which is interesting. I think Hilton being on the field helps Pittman, and then you have Deontay Johnson, who has been very good, but you're going up against Cleveland's defense. It's tough. If I had to pick one, I think I go Deontay Johnson because that game has some high-scoring potential. I don't want to call it necessarily a shootout because I don't know if Roethlisberger has enough, enough bullets left to go into a full-blown shootout. But I think there's some scoring potential, and Deontay Johnson is he's the underneath get open guy, which is a very safe role to have. I think I go Deontay Johnson. I would if I were putting them in order, I'd say Deontay Johnson. Michael Pittman is not a distant second. I think he's close. And then Robert Woods, just from his inconsistency, would be third for me.
That's where I went as well. And basically for the same reasons. I really like Pittman as a player, and I think he's going to continue to have a good year. My only thing with him is he's done this a few times in the season. It's not really his fault. It's just kind of the way the games go. But he's had nice weeks, and then you are hoping to kind of roll with that momentum and it carries over, and then he could go out like the next week and not really do a lot, and it's just kind of the way the game goes for him. Whereas like with Pittsburgh, I'm pretty confident no matter the week, no matter the game, like Deontay Johnson is gonna be involved. And because of that, that's why I want to go with him.
What I like about the emergence of Michael Pittman, though, is that the looks he's getting and like what he's able to do with them is really solidifying that wide receiver one role. Like you've kind
Yeah.
of talked about Keenan Allen versus Mike Williams, and I think it makes sense to point these things out as they're happening. And like up until now, or up until this year, you would have assumed that if T.Y. Hilton's healthy, he's their number one option. But I don't think
Yeah.
that's the case anymore. I think T.Y. Hilton, they're not going to come out and say it, and they might not even view it this way. But I think Michael Pittman is the wide receiver one guy, and that Hilton is the underneath complementary guy, and he's probably going to outperform Pittman here and there. But those deep looks down the sideline that Pittman's coming down with, like that's huge, and I think
That's
that's
what I
really
want to see.
helping him. Like I think that's helping him take that role.
Yeah, I think so too. We've seen maybe like two deep looks for Pittman each game for the past several games. I'm sure everybody saw that play because it was what was that a Thursday night game or a Monday night game? It was a primetime game. Where Pittman at the end of that game they threw that deep one to him in the rain and he went up over that guy and caught and made a really nice catch for that touchdown. Like I want to see them continue to do that and even preferably more than what they are. If they do that, then like Pittman's upside changes, like it goes way up. It's still there, but I just want to make sure that like that stays consistent and they continue to do that. If they do, then it won't be another week or two. Like we'll probably just be looking at Pittman as an automatic start.
Yeah.
Um,
If I'm
what two
picking
running
two
backs?
there, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just reading it out loud. Go ahead.
If I pick two running backs out of that list, I don't feel good. I'll be honest. I don't feel great about any of those options for specific reasons, and they might not happen, right? But I think that game script could limit Booker. I think that Dearness Johnson could be the Hunt role. I agree with Josh on that, but he could not be, or it could be to a lesser degree. And so it has me in a weird way leaning Carter and Mitchell. I like Carter's floor. I think he's been pretty consistent. And Elijah Mitchell came off a big game last week. I don't like going up against Chicago's defense. I don't like it being in Chicago. But Mitchell did just have a 100-yard game. They haven't really been committal to any of those running backs, but I think maybe performance could twist their arm a little bit. And so, I mean, I'm looking at Carter and Mitchell probably being my two preferred options in that. Kansas City against the Giants defense coming off of another loss, like, just has this gut feeling that, like, Kansas City could just go off, and Booker might be sitting there like, I can catch, but is that how we want to try to approach this? Probably not. I don't know.
And for me, I'll play Mitchell as well. Like, he would be one of my guys. Just given he was back and healthy, activated, and got like a really nice workload. He looked awesome on that first drive. Well, I mean, he looked good. The 49ers offensive line looked awesome last week. And because of that, Mitchell had a lot of nice lanes to run through. And if he can do something, you give him some space. That boy can run. He's pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
So I'll play Mitchell. And which was the other one you went with, Dub? You went with Carter?
Yeah.
I think I would go with Booker just because I think you got a pretty safe floor there. And if he gets into the end zone, then he's made your day. You got a nice day. And because he does stay fairly involved even in the passing game situation, I just don't think he can really get scripted out. I don't love him as a player. Like, I don't think he's some special player or nothing like that. In fact, I think Dearness Johnson is probably a better player than he is. But because I just think he's fairly safe to get you something decent, like at least 8 points. And if you're in full PPR, even more than that. And then if he scores, it's a good day. So I'll play Booker and Mitchell. I'm going to be curious today to see how involved Dearness Johnson is. That's just one I don't know, so it's hard to recommend playing him.
Yeah.
But because with Nick Chubb being back, like I just want to see, like, does Dearness Johnson just get what Kareem Hunt would have got? Does he just get 10, 12 touches with a couple opportunities at the goal line? Does he get a couple passes thrown to him like Kareem Hunt does? I'm just kind of watching for that this week because obviously we don't know how that's going to work. But I don't expect him to just ride the pine the whole game. I think he'll be involved.
Yeah, and I mean, if he is involved, you got another week of it too, right? At least, like Hunt's going to be out another week.
At least, yeah. It seems like it might be longer than that, unfortunately.
Start to Waddle, Devonte Smith, Jerry Judy, Cole Beasley. So the real question for you is like, how good do you feel about Cole Beasley without Dalton Knox or Dawson Knox? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. What do you think about that Detroit matchup with Devonta Smith? Dub.
I think it's an interesting situation because Amani Oruwariye has been a pretty good corner for them. His development has been slow and steady, but up for the last 2+ years. He was a third-round pick out of Penn State, I think, and he has some size. So Devonte Smith could probably get some space on him with some shorter underneath route running, but I think that Awariye's size and what he's shown to be, he's shown to me to be a pretty good corner overall. I think that Devonte Smith is capped a little bit unless he gets a lot of
Yeah.
volume. I think I see Smith's opportunities today being the 5 to 7 yard stuff.
Okay. Well, then with that in mind, I think I would play. I think Cole Beasley can have himself a nice game without Knox. I think while Knox is out, Cole Beasley can be involved. But that's not guaranteed. He's shown weeks even without Knox doing his thing. That it's just sort of like Sanders and Diggs makes a few plays and that's that. But I think I'll probably play in full PPR. I think I'll probably play Waddle and Judy.
I like it.
I think Smith has a decent chance. I mean, it's Hurts, dude. It's Jalen Hurts. He's the problem for me. I really like Devonta Smith as a wide receiver. I think he's a nice player. I don't know what you're going to get from Jalen Hurts.
Nobody does.
So I'll play Waddle and Judy.
I dig it. I think out of all the vulnerability Detroit's pass defense has, Awariye is not the problem. I guess it's just the best way to put that. And it seems to me that it'd be clear he'd be on Smith, and so I think there's a little bit of a cap there. But the rest of that, if you have any interest in any other Philly receivers, like they could have a day today.
Well, let's hope it's Dallas Goedert. All right,
True.
We need Dallas Goedert to get in the end zone twice at least.
Linebackers
3
have
would
been
be
the
great.
minor issue too. Like, not the minor. The linebackers have been the issue for Detroit too. They're at a point where they're actually trying to get younger guys reps just to hope they find somebody out of the
Okay.
pile.
Man, Waddle's Waddle's been something since Tua's been back. Like he's been if you look at his production after the fact, he's been a fantasy starter every week. It's just this Buffalo matchup is what's a little intimidating for me. But you sure would expect Miami to have to throw a lot today, and they've already been doing that anyway. So hopefully hopefully Waddle himself. Like I think this is going to be a test for Waddle and where he's at right now at the NFL level. If he can go out there and make plays against this defense today, when I think Buffalo knows he's going to be one of the two like primary focus for Tua. If he can still go out there and produce today and make some plays happen, then I think it'll speak a lot to where Waddle is.
And we were talking off stream a little bit that Devonte Parker might get on the field, right? He might make his return this week.
Who's that?
Devonte Parker. But
He's out this week.
He is officially out. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I say Waddle. Just because of I think Tua will have to be pretty like hyper focused on him again. But then you do have that other argument of it with Buffalo's defense, like they know that too, right? So it makes it interesting. That's why I just say, like, I think if Waddle can go out there and make plays happen and do some things on his own to get open against that defense, knowing that Buffalo themselves are going to be focusing on Waddle and Gesicki too, then it'll speak to where Waddle is as a rookie. Like he's really making a lot of progress.
Sure.
But he could go out and get bottled up. I don't know. But I'm gonna play him. I'm gonna play him. I am playing him in a league.
We went through all the injuries we wanted to touch on, right?
I think so. Unless there's something that's popped up last minute, but I think so. I did see while we were on here that it was just reported Christian McCaffrey is on target for Week 9.
Yeah, they said that for Week 4 too.
It's exactly what I thought when I first read it. Was like, yeah, okay, we'll see that. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah. Don't go cutting Chuba Hubbard.
Year.
Exactly. Don't go cutting Chuba.
In fact, maybe go trade for him with this news.
True.
I'll give you my last bench player.
Dude, this is exactly how it played out last year. It was like, well, he's going to be back soon. No, he's not. But now he's going to be back mid-season. Oh, like they were just as sure he was going to play 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean,
Right.
I don't mind throwing somebody out there to get Chupa. And I'm not offering a ton because you should be able to get him for dirt cheap. And nobody will offer more than the CMC owner, right?
Mhm.
But if you could sneak your way into that a little bit, I would. Somebody else that I wanted to throw out there as far as a potential acquisition goes, um, it looks like Gronk's officially active. I just got to pop up.
Is he?
Yeah. It looks so. Somebody else that might be worth
Man.
acquiring is Rashad Penny. I think if he is going to be good, there's a decent chance that this is the last week you have to acquire him. They're playing at home against Jacksonville, so I think if he's close to being right and or being a big fantasy asset this year, this is going to be one of your last chances to get him with the matchup and the timing. Um, I'm not saying I know that to be the case that he's going to blow up, but if he does, this would be a good stage for that. So
Yeah.
keep an eye on that. At the very least, it's worth monitoring. But
Agreed.
I think we're running out of time to leave him in free agency.
I want to say real quick, I'm recognizing a lot of the names that are in chat, and I appreciate you guys like coming to our streams every week. But if there happens to be someone in here that's not subbed yet, if a couple of you guys are, consider doing it. We stream a couple times a week. Tuesdays we do that for waivers, and then we do this Sundays before the games with just any questions you got people have every week. We try to help out with that. We're trying to reach 100 subs, so we're trying to get to that goal. We this is something we just do a couple times a week, mostly for fun, but we're trying to get into a groove, and we intend to hit this harder. The more that it makes sense, the more people we have that join us every week. So appreciate you guys coming out that do every week, though. It's awesome.
Oh, for sure. Early in the stream, I actually wanted to point out like our first 3 or 4 comments we got were from returning viewers, so we definitely appreciate that. We also obviously appreciate anyone new, anyone that's hanging out with us and or participating in chat. Definitely keeps the stream going. Definitely something we appreciate. But it's actually kind of cool to feel like we might be building a little community here and getting some people involved that want to come back, and like hanging out with us. So that makes my heart happy. Appreciate
We
that.
just have to, as long as we just keep getting more right than wrong.
Yeah.
With these questions every week, that's what we got to do. What time Tuesday do we stream? It's been like right about 9 o'clock on Tuesdays. The last few I think is about the time we've jumped on here. We try to stay consistent with the time, so it works for you guys too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about the time we do that on Tuesdays. And that's something we haven't really played with either, just not knowing what time would be best. But it's for some reason with our time, we're on the Eastern time zone. It seems like the later we're on Tuesdays, the more traffic we get.
It's true.
Like if we're on till 10:30, something around that time frame, it just seems like that's when we get more people that come in. So we try to do them a little bit later.
Well, and a proper stream title would probably help with that too. But we've had a couple pretty good Tuesdays too. So, but yeah,
Sure.
it's like when it gets rolling, it picks up around like 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why, but that's happened a couple times. Well, I think we covered just about everything, and we're 5 minutes till game time, so there's probably not really anything left anyway.
No.
If you want to, we can wrap it up and make sure that our own particular lineups are straight before these games start.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess the big takeaway from the stream today is that we have some of the more notable question marks are in the later games, so you need to be making it a point before these games start to start getting your insurance policies and or plugging in guys that maybe you feel better about early. We had one that was the Jalen Hurts over Dak Prescott, mostly for certainty, right? So you don't want to wait too long and get caught or hung out to dry. So definitely start thinking about like what's it worth if you need to get a guy in your lineup in the next 4 minutes. Like, go do that if you want to avoid that jeopardy later. But yeah. I think we covered pretty much everything. Appreciate everything. We kind of already touched on that too, but appreciate everyone stopping by. Thanks, Dallas. We appreciate that. Yeah, get your lineup set. We're hoping for everyone to get some wins. We're wishing everyone good luck this week.
Trying to put up 200 points this week.
We both, the two of us, have had some really rough luck as far as health and status go this week, but is what it is. We're making the most of it. I'm starting Michael
Yeah.
Carter and OBJ this week.
Okay. You know, I'm sitting here. I've been
In a
having
10
to
team.
decide between Jalen Waddle. I've been trying to decide between Jalen Waddle and Michael Pittman in my flex, and I'm gonna go with Pittman, and I'm gonna really be fuming in about a half hour if I was wrong on that decision.
No, we're all Wentz fans today, brother.
All right, let's do it.
All right, appreciate everyone for stopping by. Definitely hit that sub button if you want some notifications. We'll